What's going on, guys? It is Straw Hat Goofy with another YouTube video for you guys today, and welcome to the second installment of Goofy in the Morning, a segment where I pretty much just break down the news that I found interesting from yesterday or something that caught my eye when I woke up this morning. Now, before I get started, make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe, make sure you hit the bell to get notified for my other videos so that way you don't miss out on all that goodness. Alright, so the very first thing that caught my eye yesterday was the Peter Dinklage Disney backlash drama. So as you guys know, very recently, or at least for like the last 10 years or so, Disney has been on this kick where they were adapting every animated feature they've ever made to a live action picture. So it was only natural that they set their sights on their very first animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it seemed like they was on the right track to do something special. They casted the first Latina actress to play Snow White, Rachel Zegler, who was in West Side Story earlier this year. But that's where Peter Dinklage comes into play. He was on a podcast, and I'm not sure if he was asked this question or if he just offered this information up, but he was talking about the new remake, and he said on one end, Disney was very proud for casting the first Latina actress to play Snow White, but on the other end, they're still adapting a story that features 7 bearded dwarves in a cave. I'm pretty sure he said the word backwards story like 5 times. I'm paraphrasing here, but I think he said something along the lines of, haven't I done enough to make sure that this didn't happen? I said this on my TikTok, but Peter Dinklage does have a little bit of room to flex here because what Peter Dinklage has done for the dwarf community in the world of TV and film, I don't think we talk about that enough. Peter Dinklage is now an actor who's at that level where he can get a role despite his dwarfism. One of my favorite casting decisions of all time is Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask in X-Men Days of Future Past, because not once throughout the entire movie did they make a reference to his dwarfism or any condition that he has. This also raises more interesting questions because, again, when it comes to the world of fantasy, dwarves are a big staple. So it makes me think personally that what is a form of storytelling with dwarves that is considered backwards. Some people in my comment section pointed out The Hobbit, how a lot of those dwarves were used for comic relief. Yes, we know Okashield is badass as hell, but for the most part they were singing songs and bouncing plates off each other's heads. It was kind of weird. But if you flip that coin, Gimli is one of my favorite characters in Lord of the Rings, and yes, he's used for comic relief as well, but is that a form of ableism? Does it make dwarves look like the butt of the joke in these movies? So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see, like, where do we take dwarves in the realm of fantasy when it comes to film this time. But Disney responded literally within the same day and said that they are adjusting the dwarves for this retelling of Snow White. And I think that might be some sort of record in the movie industry for movie industry does something, somebody says no, movie industry changes it. That record was previously held by Sonic the Hedgehog when they changed that whole look. Another big piece of news is that Percy Jackson is getting a new series order on Disney+. Now, this is awesome news, and I'm super excited about it because we all know that the Percy Jackson films were not the best made films. They were kind of just made to kind of offset the end of the Harry Potter era. And I don't read the books, but everyone that I know who's a fan of the Percy Jackson books just swears to God by it, or swears to the gods by it. I literally saw a TikTok where somebody was telling me that Percy Jackson can literally go toe-to-toe with Goku. I am no Dragon Ball Z Goku stan. I haven't even watched Dragon Ball Super at all. Dragon Ball Z was my stuff growing up. But the fact that I was hearing that Percy Jackson can go toe-to-toe with Goku and a lot of people agreeing kind of makes me want to pick up a book. I was talking to another buddy of mine, Tropical Joe, who was saying that Percy Jackson, the series, if they do it right, can go on for 17 years because there's so much lore and it's pretty much on the level of Lord of the Rings when it comes to world building and storytelling. And we don't have a budget, we don't have a trailer, all we got was a logo for the series, so I'm hoping that we'll get some type of budgeting soon because that will give us a pretty good idea of where the production value is in this show. I just know there's a lot of fans that are waiting for Disney to get this right, and it better get right because if they ruin Percy Jackson for a second time, I don't know if it's gonna survive. Another piece of news that I was just kind of like, okay, why wasn't this on my radar, is John Krasinski is directing a new movie, If, and he tweeted out a photo of the cast list yesterday. I saw this cast list and he just pretty much cheekily said, what if he can cast his dream cast in his movie? And I was just kind of like, okay, what if? What is this cast? Is this, you know, him manifesting or something? No, it turns out that the movie is called If. So in this tweet, his dream cast will apparently be Alan Kim, who previously starred in Minari, Kaylee Fleming, Louis Gossett Jr., Ryan Reynolds, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Fiona Shaw, and Steve Carell. I just love the fact that Jim is directing Prison Mike in a new movie. Now, we know John Krasinski has some serious directing chops with his movies Quiet Place and Quiet Place Part 2, but this movie, If, is pretty much going to be a more lighter toned film about a kid who's trying to recapture his imagination. I don't know how a kid lost his imagination in the first place, but hey, it's always good to see that. Anyone else notice that there's this kind of thing going on with directors announcing their movies with one-word titles and being super vague about it? Like Jordan Peele announced this movie Nope with the cast and a poster, and we don't know what it's about. And then John Krasinski announces If with a cast and not a story we don't know much about. Book of Boba Fett releases today, which means I watched it literally a couple hours ago when it came out at midnight. And it was essentially The Mandalorian. It was an episode of The Mandalorian. And you want to know what's crazy? is that it was actually the best episode of the season, which is insane. Like, I know there's a lot of people who are pretty much underwhelmed with the Book of Boba Fett right now. Me personally, I'm really liking it because, again, I'm a casual Star Wars fan, so any Star Wars story I'm down for anyway. But there was just something about this episode where the tone completely shifted. It just seemed cooler. I don't know if it was Mando's armor or just the way of storytelling that was happening, but it just seemed better. And lastly, in superhero news, because I haven't talked about superhero stuff at all yet, which is very surprising. I talk about superhero stuff all the time. We got some new stills from Spider-Man No Way Home where pretty much we get all the Peters, which is a nice change of pace because I felt like we've been living in such a time, like 2 years to be exact, of Spider-Man No Way Home being this big kept secret. Well, a worse kept secret when you really think about it. And now they're just saying like, nope, there's 3 Spider people in this movie. So if you're on Twitter and you're one of like the 2 people who haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet, and you Sorry about that. I don't know why I'm apologizing. I didn't release them. And in DC news, we got a new poster for the Batman. It seems like we're getting a new poster like every other day now, and it's not my favorite. Like, don't get me wrong. It's good. It's good. I just prefer the minimalist approach of the previous posters that they released versus this one, which goes into the superhero flick, floating head above, character at the center. It just kind of is getting a little cliche at this point. At this point, I think there's a mandate for these type of posters. Or there's this guy who's super sweet around the office and they don't want to fire him. That's my headcanon. Anyway, guys, that is it for Goofy in the Morning. Thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you follow the other socials. Again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit the bell, get notified for my other videos. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys take care.